I'm sorry for interrupting, but I cannot hear.
All right, can you hear me now? Excellent. All right.
Yes.
Council President McIrvin.
Here.
All right, Councilmember Prince,
Here.
Councilmember Perez, Councilmember Vaughn,
Here.
Councilmember Albertson,
Here.
Councilmember Rivera,
Here.
and Councilmember O'Halloran.
Here.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor, one absent.
Councilmember
Oh,
Perez. showed up.
Councilmember Perez just showed up. All present, sir.
Okay, we're all present. Well, welcome everybody. And it's been exactly 2 years and 3 months since we had a council meeting here live and in person. So tonight we're going to start off with a proclamation for LGBTQIA+ Pride Month, June 2022.
All right, proclamation. Whereas the month of June was designated Pride Month to honor the Stonewall riots and is generally recognized as the catalyst of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, and asexual LGBTQIA+ rights movement. And whereas Washington State and King County have led the nation in protecting the civil rights of our lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, and asexual neighbors, coworkers, friends, and family members. And whereas while further progress is needed, it is important to recognize and celebrate the substantial gains that have been achieved. And whereas the city of Renton, in partnership and communication with residents, businesses, and schools, is dedicated to building an inclusive city with opportunities for all. And whereas lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, and asexual residents contribute to the cultural fabric of our community and donate their time, talent, labor, and financial resources to various community organizations. Whereas in solidarity with the LGBTQIA+ community, the Pride flag will appear at Renton City Hall from June 6th through 12th, 2022. Now therefore, I, Armando Pavoni, Mayor of the City of Renton, do hereby proclaim June 2022 to be LGBTQIA+ month, Pride Month in the City of Renton, and I encourage all residents to join me in the special observance and recognize the numerous contributions of LGBTQIA+ individuals in the city, and witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Renton to be affixed the 6th day of June, 2022, signed Armando Pavoni, Mayor of the City of Renton.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember.
I motion to adopt the proclamation as read.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Rivera, seconded by Council President McGurven, that the proclamation be adopted as read. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Okay, motion carries. And tonight to accept the proclamation is Alex Shockey from Valley Medical Center.
Okay, sure. Never done this before. Okay, cool. Sure, sure. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I proudly and happily accept this proclamation for myself, the city, our schools, and Valley Medical Center. I did tell Mr. Mayor and Ed Van Bailey briefly when I was waiting. I thought it was a city bill collector calling me when it said City of Renton. It's not a bill, and this is much better. I don't have anything profound to say other than I grew up in a town of 200 white people in Rida, Illinois. It was a great farming town. Everyone knew me, everyone knew my family, everyone knew my story. But said that though, even though everyone knew me, I still felt like a fish out of water. In the 10 years I resided, volunteered, made exceptional friends and family here in Renton, in a city of roughly 100,000 people, where I don't know everyone, I know many, but not everyone, and everyone knows me, I've never felt like a fish out of water here. I certainly am proud of where I grew up. I proudly tell people I'm from Renton. I appreciate the city leaders for their work in celebrating our diverse LGBTQIA community, and am looking forward to its future continued work in reducing barriers to equity and increasing inclusivity for all our residents. Happy Pride, Mom, Dad, I love you. I don't know if you can see me. My brother's supposed to help them. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, Next up, we start with a public hearing for the battery energy supply system moratorium, and presenting is Katie Buckel Morales.
Good evening. Oh, sorry,
Yeah, you can sit down. You can stand there, that's
Oh,
fine. You usually
my-
sit.
PowerPoint is loaded over here. Sorry, good evening, Mayor Pavoni, members of council and members of the public. My name is Katie Buckel Morales, and I am a planner in the Community and Economic Development Department. I am joining you this evening for the public hearing for the adopted citywide moratorium associated with battery energy storage systems, or also known as Ordinance 6061. The ordinance was adopted on April 18th of this year and became effective that same evening. Currently, battery energy storage systems is not an authorized or permitted use pursuant to the city's comprehensive plan and zoning regulations. The ordinance established a citywide moratorium on the acceptance of land use, building permit, and business license applications for that use, battery energy storage systems. State law requires that a public hearing for the emergency ordinances be held within 60 days of adoption, and this meeting will satisfy that request. The ordinance will sunset on October 18th of this year, unless lifted sooner by City Council or extended pursuant to state law. As noted in the adopted ordinance, the city seeks adequate time to better understand any impacts and determine appropriate zoning and development standards for such systems. And that concludes my presentation. The next step is to accept public testimony this evening regarding ordinance 6061. And in the weeks that follow, staff will begin a work program to better understand the impacts and determine appropriate zoning and development standards as noted in the ordinance. But the work program will follow the schedule here provided. A briefing to Planning Commission on July 6th, a Planning Commission public hearing on July 20th, and then Planning Commission will deliberate and make a recommendation which will be considered by Planning and Development Committee on August 8th.
All right, thank you. Does the council have any questions at this time? All right, we do have a few people signed up to testify tonight, and as I call your name, please head to the podium and give your name and city of residence for the clerk. And first up is Nicola Robinson.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes,
How long do we have?
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, I've cut mine way down. So, Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you for this public hearing. And it is the result of a pre-application that was submitted to the planning department for a battery energy storage system that was proposed behind our community, which is across from the Riverview Park and the Cedar River off the Maple Valley Road. So we found out about this by chance when we saw drones doing aerial survey of the property. And that was in March, and there was such an outcry from us. And you heard us, which we really appreciate. And we also thank you for this moratorium. And our concern is that we, in looking into these systems, and we do support green energy, but we're hesitant regarding these systems, especially when they're so close to communities like ours. And this is proposed to within 50 feet, 9.3 acres, as you know, and you have all the information ad nauseum from us about this. And there are continued problems on record as recently as February and March of this year of software malfunctions and breakdowns, which I have sent you links to those. And that's as recently as this year. And these problems have been going on since 2019. There's been a surge of BESS installations, and regulations have not been able to keep up. The people who put these systems together have put in part some safety measures that in part in software programs that monitor the systems, and also structural changes to the systems, but there are still problems. And most of these facilities are remote. I haven't seen any that are close to communities. And you're very familiar with the parcel that is behind our community. It's this energy storage system is completely non-conforming to that. It's designated for the last 40 years, zoned as low density single family, 1 unit per 10 acres, and also designated as a rural designation resource conservation. Apart from all the sensitive and critical areas there. So we were horrified and very worried, and when we realized that this was a proposal, and we were very surprised and continue to be concerned, because all the companies involved, the storage system, Puget Sound Energy, and the owner of the parcel should be well aware of the restrictions of this parcel, and yet they still went ahead and put this pre-application in to the city. So I think I could probably just conclude. I don't know how much time I've got left.
You've got about 1 minute left.
Oh, okay. It's also non-conforming in the sense that it uses up 100% of the buildable area when only 35% is allowed. We ask that you refuse this pre-application from moving forward. We're optimistic that this proposal will be rejected by the city as inappropriate for this location due to land use restrictions, critical and sensitive areas, landslide hazard, and because of its proximity to our community of modest homes since 1943, and that any proposed modification of this pre-application will also be rejected for the same reasons. We do believe in green energy, but not if it threatens communities, families, the environment, wildlife, and our waterways. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Azur Allender.
Hello, my
Hello.
name is Azure Allender, and this is how much I care for this subject, is that I'm up here speaking to you folks because I literally hate public speaking. I just really want to reiterate what I said at the council meeting over Zoom. I believe it was April 6th. And all of the points, I have no doubt Nikki, my neighbor along Fifth, already stated, but the one thing that startles me the most is within the pre-application document on page 3, where I quit reading it. It simply states that there is no stream present on this land parcel, and that's complete and utter falsehood. And I just cannot believe that it even got to this point, whereas it is not zoned for industry. It's simply put, the brakes should have been put on it right then and there. And the fact that it's continuing is beyond me. It's completely beyond me. And then to later on learn that all of the energy that would be created would be going up the hill over to Bellevue, which I just cannot believe any of you folks would want to put a destructive project such as this in such a critical area. I ended my 5-minute speech over the Zoom reiterating the tragedy of the Oso landslide. And just, this has been, of course, on my mind ever since I saw the drone. As soon as I saw the drone, if I had a gun, I would have shot it down and I would have dealt with the hazards later. Because I knew something bad was going to happen. And you guys all have the opportunity right here to put an end to it. I just couldn't believe that our slogan is being ahead of the curve. We need to be ahead of the curve and put the brakes on this, not only within the city of Renton, but within the state. It's dangerous. I don't have the time to sit and look up all of the details and all of the fire hazards. And simply put, I don't need to. Once you hear of one or two, what's going to stop? What is going to stop? And if we allow this to happen in a zoned area that industry is not allowed, we're opening a can of worms that cannot be put back. We cannot undo what is done. I mean, there's 2 documented streams. There's an aquifer or stone's throw from the Cedar River that the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife do guided tours that we are so proud of within the city of Renton. If we allowed this to happen, we don't need to have anybody put a smear campaign on any of you because you allowed it. And it's all against our complete slogan, being ahead of the curve. And on May 22nd, I know this date because I was planting my tomatoes in my back and it's my daughter's 25th birthday. Sure enough, I heard the eerie sounds of cracking trees. And sure enough, right in the distance, I saw one of the trees fall and completely block the whole access road. And it's like, we want to propose this here within this delicate ecosystem. Yes, I know it's not pristine wildlife, but let me tell you, I mean, there's everything that a habitat needs for survival. And being that close to the river, we can't take it back. You cannot take it back. An ounce of prevention equals a pound of cure. I was taught that when I was very young and I live by it today. And thank you for your time. And I just would like to say, vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and we have one more person signed up, Emesto. And I can't read the last name there.
It's Ernesto Podaca,
Ogaka.
just like it sounds, P-O-D-A-C-A. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is Ernesto Podaca, and I live in the city of Renton. More specifically, I live in Maplewood Glen, so I have a little skin in this game. I too am concerned about this particular battery storage system being almost in my backyard. You know, there was a reason why planning originally zoned this 40 some odd years ago as RC. And one of those reasons is obviously landslide, geologic hazard issues. You know, I've lived in this area for 2 years now, and I think twice already we've had to close the Maple Valley Highway due to landslides. And since there is currently planned in that space, looks like only one means of ingress and egress in and on that site. You know, should a landslide happen and seal off that site, and then, you know, God forbid a fire breaks out, there's no way that the fire department could effectively fight that fire. So it's so I would really urge planning to make a negative recommendation, not support this, and council to say no to this. I do want to thank council for putting a 6-month moratorium on this. It's important to understand the process that technology takes in development. It's a planned process, and how that technology is implemented and how it's and how it's placed on site is also a process that needs to be carefully considered and just not haphazardly dumped on a site because it's flat or looks good or whatever. You know, a battery storage system could be sited close to the Talbot substation. There's not a lot of flat land. Granted, a lot of transmission lines, which I know Puget Sound would prefer to have clear access to, but that's a design issue that could be designed around for those battery storage units. So I would once again urge City Council and staff and planning to say no to this battery storage system at this particular location. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Do we have anybody signed up to speak tonight on Zoom?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
we do have 2 others signed up to speak tonight.
Okay.
That first person is Paige Selden. Paige, go ahead.
Thank you very much for letting me speak tonight, and thank you, Council and Mayor, for your time and attention. I also am a resident of the Maplewood Glen Division that and have a house that almost backs up onto the area. And you know, honestly, it's really just too close to the homes. It's also, we have a gas pipeline in the neighborhood. And my concern is if there were to be a fire, and would Renton's fire department be equipped to handle an emergency on that scale? And what safety protocols would be put into place to prevent the fire from reaching the gas pipeline? And the neighborhood itself is prone to flooding. It's prone to slides, as people have said. And this is an unmanned station they're proposing. So that's, you know, other issues there. There would also be light and noise pollution for the residents in the area. 24/7, it would be constant. And if there were a fire, if there would be, you know, like so much water would be required to put out a fire of that magnitude, where would that water go? I mean, it would go into the river, it would come into our lands, and it would be tainted water. A possible impact would be our homeowners insurance. Would we be able to be insured for normal fires, or would be excluded from that and have to pay, you know, for an extra policy on that? It could be very costly to the people in this area. And quite frankly, we're not in a position to, you know, financially, all of us, to handle that increase. And so these are my concerns on this. But besides the wildlife that's back there, we have hours of videotape of deer, bobcats, coyotes. There's hawks, there's bald eagles, and owls, and all kinds of other like small little mammals and rodents that are back in that area. And it would affect the wildlife patterns, and we would, like someone else said, we would not be able to get that back once it was destroyed. And I guess that those are my concerns, and I appreciate your time. And I'm really hoping that the council will see that this is not the place, that really there has to be a better area. Even within Renton, there's probably other places. But this location is just not suitable. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
The next person we have is Lori Goman. Lori, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Hi. So a lot of my stuff is just going to be repeated things from my neighbors. I've been a Renton resident here in this particular neighborhood for 33 years. And it is a medium to low income neighborhood. And I am for green, but I'm not quite understanding how a battery energy supply system could be green in my backyard when I already have green back there with wildlife. Like everybody said, we have deers, blue herons that come back there. Right now, the rabbits are really in full bloom. We've got some raccoons that have been here since I've been here, raising their families. And we've got one mama at any time ready to give birth again. Usually they do it behind my garage in my back shed. And, I'm really concerned. We have a lot of houses just recently in the last couple of years have sold in here to young couples with children. And, to be fair, these children should be able to live in a safe place. That's why they bought in here. It's a great neighborhood. Renton's a great city. And, Renton's policy is we're ahead of the curve. Let's stay that way. Let's stay green. Renton does a great job taking care of all their parks and protecting their lands. And so I was really opposed to even think that this application would be considered by the city of Renton. They are all about keeping that river clean. There's the aquifers on the this property that we're talking about. And it just really, really concerns me. I've raised my children here. My grandchildren are at my house all the time. And I just don't understand where this could even be looked upon at this location. It needs a bigger space. And it is, for one, not zoned for this type of thing. So that's why, how can this even be considered? Another point that somebody had was very true. We already are in 100-year floodplain because of where the river turns and would come through this neighborhood if anything ever happened. We did get evacuated one year because the river did back up. And we have to pay extra for our homeowners insurance because of that reason. So good point on the insurance, about the fires and stuff. And the pipeline is a concern. It's very well maintained and we haven't had any issues. Let's thank God to that. But let's keep our community clean and safe. I could go on, but everything has been said. And I really, really hope that you guys take into consideration a different location, steer them in a different location where it's not close to a community, immediate residents. It's not commercial property. So I'm just baffled by that. Anyways, I appreciate your time and thank you so much for hearing me. I do appreciate, the Renton Council. Very proud of them. So thank you so much for listening to us. I think that's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
That was the last person I have that was registered to speak. Is there anyone in the Zoom call that would like to address council regarding tonight's public hearing? If so, please raise your hand. And it does look like I see one hand raised, Mr. Mayor. That is Jack McCullough. Jack, go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Jack McCullough, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, and I'm not here to talk about a specific piece of property. I work a lot with clean energy companies, including those involved in solar and wind energy. And I just wanted to make the point, as the city is studying this new technology, that it is not going to be possible to move into a new era of clean energy without having significant battery storage capability somewhere in our communities. I take my hat off to the city of Renton. It was back in 2010 that the city adopted its clean economy strategy, CES, and I know that that the city has been working on CES 2.0 in part to respond to the Washington State Clean Energy Transformation Act, CETA, that is applicable to all the counties and cities in the state, and that's really calling on all of us as jurisdictions to make preparations for moving away from fossil fuels. Obviously, the fossil fuel energy sources on which we mostly rely have the benefit, the capacity of being, say, instant on. They're always there, right? Unlike a lot of our clean energy sources like solar and wind, which are only available at certain times of day or when certain weather conditions prevail. And so in order to make those clean energy options feasible, there needs to be a way to store the energy, the solar energy that's created during the day, the wind energy that is created during wind events, to store it for times during the daily cycle when otherwise that clean energy is not being created. And without this storage facility kind of throughout the state, throughout the nation, it is not going to be possible to move to a clean energy future. So I just wanted to encourage the council to continue your path that you've been on, which is, I think, to proceed with a lot of foresight in this area, to take the time, as you will, with the Planning Commission and your staff this summer to study this carefully. But it's a really critical new step in order to make sure that we can move away from our dependency on fossil fuels. And I would note that because the state has become involved in this through CETA, that it will be incumbent on local communities really to make accommodation for these kind of facilities in order to allow for clean energy to be used. And that is preferable to happen at the local level rather than having the state move in through the Energy Facility Siting Commission process or other kind of, say perhaps more heavy-handed state measures to ensure that battery storage can be provided. So I'm happy to stay in touch with staff and be a resource as we move forward, and look forward to your thoughtful and careful consideration of where and how in the city and elsewhere in the region these facilities ought to be located in order to preserve and protect our clean energy future. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
The next person we have is Nancy Quinn. Nancy, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Thank you all so much for what you do. I'm disappointed in myself that I didn't get signed up to speak before, but I have a busy life and have just embraced a new foster child in my home. And I'm actually exceedingly grateful that that happened tonight, because I get to speak after the gentleman that just spoke, who doesn't seem to realize that the current site that's projected is 50 feet from our fence line. It is not safe, and it is certainly not clean energy. If you look into these battery storage sites, what it takes to mine lithium ion batteries makes them unsafe. They are not clean. Just to mine 1 ounce of lithium creates so much dirty water, it's unbelievable. So I don't think that we need to be talking about what we think is clean now that is going to prove in 20 years to be supremely hazardous. So as you guys know, I've been an opponent of this. I am for keeping our green belt. I am for protecting our neighborhood. I am for protecting our families. Liberty Ridge will be consumed with toxic fumes when this, and I'm not saying if, I'm saying when this goes badly. We all know about the thermal runaway. We all know how toxic the gases and the runoff from this is. This cannot be allowed to continue. And I know I was frustrated at the beginning of the meeting because you guys have said you're going to put a moratorium on this. We also know from the verbiage that you have the liberty to take that away. But the consequences for when this goes wrong is so in your hands and on your backs when it goes wrong that I know in my heart that this isn't going to happen. So I'm not really concerned about that. I'm just super passionate about the future of our children in this neighborhood and the safety of our neighbors and what a bad idea this is. I'm confident that you're going to make the right decisions. So again, thank you all so much for what you do, and Godspeed. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
The next person we have is Lizette Gillette. Lizette, go ahead.
Good afternoon. This is her husband, Michael Gillette, and I am sitting with Lizette Gillette as well. And I just want to thank the city council for continuing to allow the city residents to speak have their voices heard. I know there are several the neighborhoods up the hill that would be concerned and are unable to make these meetings, as well as several neighbors in the Maplewood Glen, which is adjacent to this community, adjacent to the specific site, that are also equally concerned and are unable to make this meeting as well. So we represent a small portion of a larger amount of residents, Renton residents, that are very concerned about this. And I would definitely agree with a lot of what has been said already, and just find it very inappropriate that it has gone this far. I do think that the battery, as much as Renton should be on the forefront and clean energy should be considered, this is not a forefront issue. This is not a clean energy item. It should quickly be dismissed. A moratorium is not sufficient enough to have to discuss this item every 6 months or every 3 months. There's clearly environmental hazards to the wildlife in that space. There's environmental hazards to the community and residents adjacent and above. There's environmental hazards to the river that is adjacent and goes into Lake Washington as well as the flooding zones, the landslides, potential fires, trees falling. I mean, the environmental hazards risk is way too high to consider any of this to be appropriate. And even if the zone, and not just for the best system, but changing the zone period to go from the current zone to a scale that goes all the way to industrial, typically, you know, I understand there's general exceptions, but there are typically city and regional development says zoning is strategic. They go in certain areas, and residents aren't typically zoned next to industrial areas. So even if you change the zone, that's also not appropriate. So not only is this industrial battery storage not appropriate, even discussing and considering changing the zone from one scale all the way to the other side of the scale to industrial is inappropriate. This really should be quickly voted no. a moratorium is also not needed to be continued. Like I'm very thankful that a moratorium was done. We continue to discuss this. We continue to do research, but at some point, we need to realize this is not enough. This just needs to be dismissed. Please vote no on this. Please dismiss this. Please continue with a process that does not require us to talk about this every 6 months. Thank you for your time. I just want to also thank the neighbors and previous people that spoke as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, that is all I have.
Okay, and I don't see anyone else in the audience looking to address the council. So I'm just gonna say a few words to the individuals that testified tonight. First, I want to say thank you for taking your evening away from your family and friends to come down here and have this discussion with the council. This is something the council and the administration takes extremely seriously, protecting our residents. You know, it feels like it's gone too far, I think was one of the statements, and it really is a process. And as far as putting the brakes on it, that's exactly what the council did, so that we could take a closer look at this and find out exactly what this use is and make decisions going from there. So thank you all very much for coming down and letting the council know how you feel tonight. So what's the wish of the council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes. Oh, do we have correspondence?
I do
Sorry.
have some correspondence. Yes, sir.
Yes.
I received 2 pieces of correspondence. One was from Miss Nicola Robinson, who spoke earlier. And the other is from a Mr. Tommy Nelson on behalf of Tanasca, who I believe is the applicant for the proposed VSS project. To summarize their email, they indicate that the project will create jobs and revenue in Renton, increase the security and resiliency of the electrical grid, and will position Renton as a leader in a carbon-free future. They also indicated that this project supports the clean economy strategy and are willing to provide any additional information about the system if requested. And I want to point out that both items of correspondence have been added to the record for the public hearing and have been forwarded to council. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Prince, seconded by Councilmember O'Halloran, that the public hearing be closed. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. All right, this public hearing is closed. Thank you. And next up, we have administrative report.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome. National Secure Your Load Day is today, June 6th. This day honors people whose lives are impacted or taken by unsecured vehicle loads and road debris, and encourages all drivers to properly secure their loads every time they drive. Throughout the month of June, the Renton Police Department Traffic Unit, as well as our patrol officers, will be doing extra emphasis on the roads to make sure all loads are secured properly. Renton Farmers Market returns to Piazza Park, corner of South 3rd Street and Logan Avenue South when it opens its 21st market season on Tuesday, tomorrow, June 7th. Vendors will have fresh flowers, fresh produce, honey, baked goods, ciders, wine and cheese, crafts, and delicious ready-to-eat food. SNAP and EBT shoppers can use the SNAP Market Match Incentive Program, which offers a dollar for dollar match of up to $40 per day to be used for fresh produce. In addition, the Kids Patch activity area returns, and there will be live music from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. Park for free in the nearby City Center parking garage, 655 South 2nd Street. The market is open every Tuesday from 3 to 7 p.m. through September 27th. Find more information on Renton Farmers Market on their website, Instagram, or Facebook. Join your neighbors and police officers for coffee and conversation at Coffee with a Cop on June 8th at the Rose Gift House and Coffee, 226 Main Avenue South, from 10 a.m. to noon. Representatives from the Renton Police Department will be available to answer your questions about crime prevention, traffic enforcement, investigations, recruitment, or community programs and services that are available to the Renton community. Solid Waste Utilities' second event in their series of 3 mini recycle events will be on Saturday, June 11th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Renton Technical College, North Parking Lot, Northeast 6th Place and Monroe Avenue Northeast. Bring mattresses, cardboard, and vehicle tires for recycling. The first event on May 7th served approximately 315 participants and prevented over 10 tons of scrap metal and 790 pounds of styrofoam from going to landfill disposal. In addition, 87 pounds of food were donated by recycle event participants to the Salvation Army Food Bank. The Sunset Community Church, located at 1032 Edmonds Avenue Northeast, is hosting a free community pancake breakfast on Saturday, June 11th from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Information about preventative street maintenance, traffic impact projects, and road closures happening this week can be found at rentonwa.gov/traffic. All projects are weather permitting unless otherwise noted. Streets will always remain open. That is your report.
All right, thank you. Next up, we have audience comment. We have one person signed up here in person, then we have a few signed up online. When your name is called, please come up to the podium and you have 5 minutes to speak. Please give your name, city of residence, and the topic you'll be discussing. And first up in person, we have Claudia Donnelly.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Claudia Donnelly and I live east of Renton in King County. I want to talk about stormwater runoff because I know you're talking about that later, but this is another issue about stormwater runoff. There is a state law that says upstream property cannot be adversely affected by cannot adversely affect downstream property. We get stormwater runoff from Renton homes, roads and developments, King County roads and homes, and SR 900. I am providing everyone with some documents that I have accumulated over the years, including one I got from a Bellevue land use attorney. It's about case stormwater runoff. And I'm giving a special document I got a copy to the mayor. In 2008, the city annexed the McKay property near Stonegate. This is what was written. Quote, the proposed annexation is located within the May Creek drainage basin, which has been identified as having significant erosion, water quality, and habitat problems due to urbanization. And I've lived in that area for 35 years. So far, I've seen nothing done by Renton or others to fix the problem. In 2009, a developer from Martin Ranch Development above Windstone contacted a King County Water and Land Resource Engineer, Brian Slate, instead of doing a real drainage analysis. The city accepted his recommendations. And in 2009, this is what he said. Quote, 12/29/09. Ms. Donnelly is on the NDA Neighborhood Drainage Assistance Program list. The program is currently not funded. Ms. Donnelly is currently near the top of the list and has a good chance to be funded if the program is funded. BS, unquote. This is nothing but a big lie. I live downstream from this development and I'm sure I complained about what the additional water would do to my property. But Renton planners don't care about protecting other people's property, especially someone who doesn't live within city limits. And King County doesn't care about lying employees either. In 1999, 2000, both King County and Renton wanted the Windstone development to go in above me. My husband and I appealed the DNS for this development, but we're overruled by, quote, people who knew better, or so they claimed. We get stormwater runoff from the detention pond involved. In 2018, the city of Renton, King County, and Newcastle were concerned about a proposed clear cut on the Delisle Wall area of Cougar Mountain. Former Mayor Dennis Law wrote a letter to DNR. This is some of what he said. The city of Renton, quote, the city of Renton is very concerned about deleterious impacts this proposal could have on the downstream environment and the fragile May Creek Basin, unquote. My husband and I experienced the same type of clear cut in 1989 for the Windstone development. We get stormwater runoff from the Windstone detention pond involved and other detention ponds in the area. I have a note from the Windstone HOA president who told me this, quote, regarding your questions, yes, it is my understanding based on city diagrams that the water from the retention ponds involved that collect storm drain water from the subdivision do ultimately dump water into Green Stream. And Green Stream is the stream that flows through my yard down to May Creek. I gave the Newcastle city manager some of my pictures and the city attorney took him to a King County judge and got a temporary injunction against the DeLeo wall clear cut. I gave the same pictures to Renton officials for the Wolf Woods annexation, along with the BRB. I attended a BRB meeting in February 2020 and heard board members say they were appalled by what both King County and Renton allowed to happen. The members wondered why Renton and King County officials couldn't work together to fix the problem. I don't have an answer. Renton, we'll see, in 2019, Renton annexed Wolf Woods. This is what was said about the stormwater runoff problems. Quote, stormwater management will be provided directly or via contract in a manner that is consistent with the City of Renton Stormwater Manual, King County standards, and the applicable state of Washington guidelines. As described in section 3, the city is aware of some previously reported stormwater management challenges in the nearby areas. While annexation per se will not impact current matters, city officials report an intention to develop a plan to better address these issues following annexation of the Wolf Woods area. Annexation occurred in 2019 and today is 2022. So what is the plan? There is nothing in this document that says development has to start before Renton does anything. Okay, in 2020, I wrote a letter to the Department of Ecology to stop the Dalpay short plat at SR 900 and 148th Avenue Southeast because of an incomplete drainage analysis. On this site, there are moderate slopes ranging from 8 to 15% down to May Creek. We live towards the bottom of the East Renton Plateau. No one from the firm that did the downstream analysis talked to us about what we have experienced. That is why I wrote to DOE about stopping this short plat, and DOE agreed with me. I need help. I need help from everybody, not just me. King County has told me that one, we can fix the problem. Well, how do you fix a God problem? With all the rain we've had, I'm supposed to fix that with my money? Or two, I can go to risk management. Or three, I can hire a consultant. Why do I have to do that? I didn't cause it. You guys caused it indirectly by sending that water down through my yard to May Creek. And before I go, I have some pictures I gave Melissa.
I believe she passed them out to us.
Yeah, I just want to explain what some of them are, if that's okay.
Actually, we're kind of out of time at this point. What's the wish of the council here?
I've only got about 5 pictures.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move we give Ms. Donnelly 2 more minutes.
I second.
Okay, it's moved by Councilmember Prince, second by Councilmember Rivera that we give Ms. Donnelly 2 more minutes. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Where's the,
Okay,
It's right here.
I know, but I want to,
Oh, 1 second. Yep. All right, we got new stuff in here, so 1 second. So,
this is up.
I'm working on it. All right.
Okay,
Okay.
this is the detention pond and what it looks like at Windstone, which is above it. The big one is the detention pond, the little one is the vault. And it sends water like we've had the last couple of days through my yard to May Creek, full of sediment, rocks, whatever. These are pictures that I took in 1990 to 97. This is my yard, the start of the flooding. Next one is Lake Donnelly. It's a new lake, has gone away now, but it comes back every time we have a Hawaiian Express. The last one again is Lake Donnelly. This is the northwest corner of my property. I have about a ½ acre. And you can see the brown water. We got that for 7 years. How would you like to have some property And every year you can't use it for 7 years because it's flooded like that. Okay, the next one. Again, Lake Donnelly. This is what a King County judge approved the injunction for on. This is a sediment bar. It had the width of our property. And then in 1998, our neighbor changed the stream course. So we had a little waterfall now. We had a different problem. So we had an engineer from Willard come out and say, put big rocks down here to stop the force. We did. Now you can't see the rocks because the sediments covered them up. This is my yard after it dried out. Notice the leaves on the fence. My husband's an engineer and determined that the water in that spot was 18 inches deep. And the next one is there's a neighbor's property. Then, this is what I did. In my neighborhood across from Astor Park, county has some parkland we like to frequent. In the park, there's a wetland and there's a little bitty stream of water coming down. Goes down to SR 900. That's stormwater runoff that we get. I talked to the county about it and they say, what's stormwater runoff? We don't see any. Down at the bottom in December of this past year, the water coming from SR 900 made a little gully. You can see the outline there. So I got a picture of that. I've got one more.
We need to wrap it up,
I've
okay?
got one more picture. This is the last one. This was taken the next day. You notice the water coming off SR 900. That's stormwater runoff that I get, that May Creek gets, that Lake Washington gets. Something needs to be done and not by us. Thank you.
You. Okay, we have a couple of people signed up virtually to speak to the council.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the first person we have signed up is Cody Palmer. However, I don't see Cody in attendance tonight.
Okay.
The next person is Kamran Ahmad. Kamran, go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council for the opportunity to speak tonight. I moved to the East Renton Highlands last July from Bellevue and would just like to state that I'm really enjoying the community and all that Renton has to offer. To your points about inclusion and being an extremely welcoming place. I love that folks here look out for each other and are so kind. I'm speaking tonight to raise some concern over Southeast 128th Street. This street is known for a few things. Some folks refer to this as Cemetery Road. This road is also used by folks, frankly, for racing. In fact, if you drive sort of beyond the intersection there on 164th Avenue Southeast, you can actually see tire tracks from folks burning out and doing cookies and donuts and racing. It's not uncommon for people to drive on this road at speeds that I would approximate to be in excess of 60 miles per hour. I myself live on 177th Place Southeast. And as you can see, if you were to look at a map of some of these sort of arterial communities that feed off of 128th, you'll notice that there's really no sidewalk or curb space to speak of. And so what this means is if I walk towards 128th Street and I hang a left, I essentially am walking alongside vehicles traveling 60 to 70 miles per hour. There is no curb or sidewalk to speak of. In the past month or two, we've had 3 accidents and 1 fatality on this road. I have seen some of the seniors in the community who like to go out and go for walks, being forced to navigate 4 lanes of traffic to cross this road at 175th Avenue Southeast, 172nd Avenue Southeast, and possibly a little bit better because of the light at Patriot Way, but overall huge issue. So I raise this because I'm concerned that, quite honestly, it's a matter of time before someone will be hit by a vehicle. I'm very open-minded and would seek the council's support to sort of ideate on an appropriate solution. I don't know that the correct answer is to take police resources and have them radar folks on this road who are driving fast. I don't know if that's feasible or not. I think one thing that came to mind for me would be lowering the speed on this road substantially, installing additional traffic cameras, and working to provide community members with some sort of barrier or curb or sidewalk. What is in existence today? I didn't bring any photos. I'm on Zoom, obviously, but if you take a look at what's there, there's not a lot separating pedestrians from vehicles traveling at extremely high speeds. It is a sketchy road. And I think the problem extends quite far along 128th Street. So really, I'd love the council's input on what might be feasible here. I want to improve the walkability of this community, which is wonderful. Like I said, I'm very grateful to live here and appreciate the time to speak tonight. That's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, we'll pass this information on to the Public Works and Police Department. We have a number of different ways of traffic calming, and we'll definitely look into seeing if we can't utilize some of those to slow the traffic down in that area. So next up.
Mr. Mayor, the last 2 people I have registered to speak are Diane Dobson and Sherry Brunette. However, I don't see either of them signed on tonight. And that is all I have.
That's everybody. Okay. All right. Well, next we're on to the consent agenda. There are 10 items. Are there any items that council would like pulled for separate consideration?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Council President McGurven.
Yes, hearing none, I move approval of the consent agenda as published.
Second.
It's been moved by Council President McGurven, seconded by Councilmember Prince, that the consent agenda be approved as published. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, motion carries. Next up, we are on to unfinished business. Council President McGurven.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Committee of the Whole has 1 report to present.
Okay, this Committee of the Whole committee report is regarding renaming of the Renton Senior Activity Center. The Committee of the Whole recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to approve and move forward with the city facility renaming process for the Renton Senior Activity Center to honor Don Person as established in policy 600-04.
Mr. Mayor.
Council President McGurven.
I move the council concur with the Committee of the Whole report.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Council President McGurven, seconded by Councilmember Prince, that the council concur with the Committee of the Whole report. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, motion carries. Councilmember Prince.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Perez.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Van.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Albertson.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Utilities Committee has one committee report to present.
Okay, Utilities Committee report. This is an agreement amendment with Tetra Tech Incorporated for the Cedar River 205 project levy certification. The Utilities Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to approve amendment number 6 to contract 15224 with Tetra Tech Incorporated in the amount of $337,210 for phase 3 of the Cedar River 205 project levy certification. This is signed by the committee chair, vice chair, and member.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Albertson.
I move that council concur with the Utilities Committee report.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Albertson, second by Councilmember Rivera, that the council concur with the Utility Committee report. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, motion carries. Councilmember Rivera,
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember O'Halloran.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we're on to legislation. We have 4 ordinances tonight, 2 for second reading and 2 for first.
Right, the first ordinance for second and final reading is regarding the Public Works Department reorganization. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, amending Chapter 3-7 of the Renton Municipal Code to update Public Works Department divisions pursuant to reorganizations, authorizing corrections, providing for severability, and establishing an effective date.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember O'Halloran.
I move the ordinance be adopted as read.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember O'Halloran, second by Councilmember Rivera, that the ordinance be adopted as read. This is the second reading. It requires a roll call.
Hey, Council President McGurven.
Aye.
Councilmember Prince.
Aye.
Councilmember Perez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughn.
Aye.
Councilmember Albertson.
Aye.
Councilmember Rivera.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Halloran.
Aye.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor, all ayes.
Okay, motion carries.
All right, the next ordinance is also first, second, and final reading is regarding the salary table adjustment pursuant to the reorganization. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, adopting an amended 2022 City of Renton salary table to implement and authorize reorganization of the Public Works Department and reinserting an existing position that was previously inadvertently omitted from the salary table and establishing an effective date.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember O'Halloran.
I move the ordinance be adopted as read.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember O'Halloran, second by Councilmember Perez, that the ordinance be adopted as read. This is second reading, requires a roll call.
Council President McGurven.
Aye.
Councilmember Prince.
Aye.
Councilmember Perez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughn.
Aye.
Councilmember Albertson.
Aye.
Councilmember Rivera.
Aye.
And Councilmember O'Halloran.
Aye.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor, all ayes.
Motion carries.
All right, the next ordinance is regarding code interpretations. This is a docket item number 205. This is for first reading only. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, amending Chapter 4.1 of the Renton Municipal Code, subsections 42115 F2, 44055A, 46060J1, and 47060B of the Renton Municipal Code, definitions in sections 41110, 41140, and 411-140 of the Renton Municipal Code, and section 924 of the Renton Municipal Code, codifying administrative code interpretations from 2019 to 2022, authorizing corrections, providing for severability, and establishing an effective date.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Prince.
I move the ordinance be placed on second and final reading at the next council meeting.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Prince, second by Councilmember Albertson, that the ordinance be placed on second and final reading at the next council meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
All right, the next item is another salary table adjustment. This is regarding the police contract that was approved during consent agenda. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, amending the 2022 City of Renton salary table to reflect collectively bargained changes and establishing an effective date.
Mr. Mayor,
Council President McGurven.
I move that the ordinance be placed on second and final reading at the next council meeting.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember McGurven, second by Councilmember Prince, that the ordinance be placed on second and final reading at the next council meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, we are on to new business. Council President McGurven.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to announce first that the Committee of the Whole will be meeting in the council conference room and via video conference on Monday, June, what day is it? 13th at 6 p.m. Yes, 2 items on the agenda, allocation of the lodging tax funding for 2022, and second, a Renton Municipal Commission Arts Commission update. And then we'll have our regular council meeting at 7 p.m. And finally, I just want to say I'm so sorry I could not be with you all there in person tonight. I'm excited to see that this hybrid thing is working so far, and hopefully next week I'll be able to join you all back in person. So that's all, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Prince.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Monday, June 13th at 5 p.m. In the council conference room and by video conference, the Planning and Development Committee will meet we have 5 items on the agenda. 1, continued pooling of Senate Bill 1406 sales tax credit funds with South King County Housing and Homeless Partners. 2, retail pet sales. 3, docket 16 Group A update. 4, stormwater pollution source control program, Title 4 code amendments briefing, and 5, emerging issues in CED. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Perez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Monday, June 13, 2022 at 3 p.m., the Public Safety Committee will meet in the council conference room and also via video conference. There are 4 items on the agenda. Edward Barney Memorial Justice Assistant Grant Program for year 2021 local solicitation, addressing gun violence, RFA briefing, and emerging issues in public safety. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Van.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Councilmember Albertson.
And no new business, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Rivera.
Mr. Mayor, I do have an item of new business. I would like to refer the topic of providing an all-gendered restroom or all-gendered restrooms at the Renton Community Center to administration to then be referred to the Community Services Committee.
Second.
Is that a motion?
Yes, I motion. Yes, sir. I do motion the aforementioned.
I believe Ryan seconded it.
Do I have a second? Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Rivera, second by Council President McGurven, that the issue of all gender bathroom in Renton Community Center be sent to the administration to report back to the Community Services Department. In discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. All right, motion carries. And any new business? No new business.
No new business under that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Councilmember Halloran.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have 2 items of new business. The first is that on Monday, June the 13th at 4:15 p.m., the Finance Committee will be meeting via video conference and also in the council conferencing room. We have 4 items on the agenda: ESD reorganization, IT administration, administrative support, the Philip Arnold Park Playground equipment replacement, grant contract for Coulon North Park Walk legislative appropriation, and emerging issues in finance. And finally, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to say that I had the pleasure on Saturday to attend the North American Institute for Mexican Advancement program in Tacoma. The event was sponsored in part by the Jalisco Washington Sister State Commission and the Cuautla Renton Sister Cities also got a shout out. The program Saturday evening featured a world-class all-women mariachi band and dance performances. And I know that the city is pleased to host the president of Cuautla and the Mexican consulate in Seattle here during their visit. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, we're almost through our first meeting back in chambers. And before we go, I want to give a shout out here to our city clerk, Jason Sapp, who oversaw the upgrade of our AV system here in this in the council chambers here. It was a huge heavy lift, and I think the technology that we're all working with now is going to bring a better product to our residents and hopefully last us for years. So thank you very much. Okay, what's the wish of the council?
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Prince, second by Councilmember Rivera, that we adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you all.